I think that we have the different set of laws to govern how that the local company can hire foreigners, and what the law and you should pay attention to. The chances are that you do have a chances, right? And of course, that for the domestic students, that one of the things of today's topic is the future, the prospects of electronic industry in general in Taiwan. All of you know that we are pretty strong in terms of IT industry, and at the same time we face the international challenges. At the same time, we have fierce competitions all around the world. And today's talk will give you a sense that what would be our futures. At the same time, that implies that what you probably should invest your time to study what the particular area of topics or courses or the topics of the thesis that you want to choose. All right? And I'd like to introduce Professor Wang. And Professor Wang is not only he's actually an entrepreneur. And he founded the company, and he has been a chairperson running the company. More than one company, as a fact. He's the chairman of the New Era Education, chairman of Intellectual Capital ICCC, and also current chairman of the International Capital. Professor Wang received his bachelor degree from National Cheng Kung University down to the south in mechanical engineering, and he went on to receive his PhD degree and master degree both in electrical engineering from Stanford University in 1990 and 85 respectively. He also received an EMBA degree from the USC, University of Southern California in Los Angeles in 1993. Okay, that's to give Professor Wang a big applause.
Thank you. Good afternoon. And I heard that you are very good at the Chinese now, so we have to practice English. That's a requirement for today's seminar, right?
Right.
Okay. Maybe regarding the topic, please don't expect too much about regulation, because I'm going to just tell you briefly, and you can check. Our government has a very detailed document information. You have to follow that. But Minister of Justice, they have an article called Employment Service Act, Article 46. That has something to do with if you want to stay. In those documents, there's two focus. One, they're talking about what would be the qualification. I think you won't have that problem. But more important is that you need to have some company like to invite you to stay also. For today's world, I will discuss later. I think you are on the upper hand. That means companies should look after you more than you need them. So how to find the right company, match your interest or match your career plan, that probably is the focus of today's talk. Is there any other things you like to know about today's topic? Anything? Okay, good. Okay. When we use the first 30 minutes, we have 90 minutes together. I use the 30 minutes to talk about industrial dynamics. I think this is more important than any other topic nowadays, because the world changes so fast, and Taiwan has no difference from other countries. We all facing those very similar challenges. It's very dynamic world. So I spend 30 minutes or more on this one, and then we touch some of the segmentation. Of course, Taiwan covered so many different industrial segmentation, but we just cover a few as a seed topic, and then we have a Q&A time. You can bring up, for example, your specific area or some specific question. But if you talk about the legal question, I'm not really qualified, or I shouldn't discuss that in this classroom. Okay. Well, I think I was being introduced, so I can skip this page. A little bit minor correction. My major is mechanical engineering. During my master time, my interest focus is robotics. In my PhD time, my interest is both innovation and machine creativity. Then you can figure out that at that time, that's 1985 to 1991. At that time, probably also the topic is how can we use AI, new technology, on the innovation. But that's the previous cycle of the AI. Okay, maybe some of the experience probably I like to share is I worked for Cisco year 2008 and 2009 in Shanghai. I was their chief strategist stationed in Shanghai for Greater China area. And I spent 3 years in Pacific Venture Group after I joined the McKinsey and Company. McKinsey Company is famous for their business strategy consultancy. But after that, I joined. This is not the Hong Kong station company. This is a local Taiwan venture capital. At that time, Taiwan venture capital, by size, we are number 3 in the world. We grew up very fast, and actually I think we have done quite a good job. So we were invited. Actually, I was invited to lead a team to go to many countries, including Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and South Africa. We just tell them how we achieve the expansion and the growth of Taiwan's venture capital business, and how we help the high-tech industry development here. Year 2000, I sent turning my resignation to my boss. I was surprised that at that time we were the largest venture capital firm in Taiwan, because at that time there's too much money followed too few cases. It's too hard, overpriced, and people just crazy. And I can share, one day I go down to have my hair cut. I sit down and I find out there's some pack underneath I take out. It's cutting news in a few words. You know, it looks like a third grade student have done that. And they ask for 100 million NT dollars as seed funding. Okay, I said, this is too much. So I go out to see my boss, say I quit. Because we invest more than 100 companies at that time. And my boss raised another, I think, 660 million US dollars. I say, wait, we should put it. Because cooking a startup, especially in high-tech company, actually, there's a lot of incubation effort before that. It's not just come out overnight. And suddenly you have a lot of money, you want to invest a very small pack of groups, talents. I mean, you can expect what happened. Next year, after I retire, the internet bubble burst. Okay, not because I left the area, just we know it will happen. Okay, and some of the experience I might be able to share is working on the big systems in aerospace industry, and also actually that's my starting point. I work for Xerox Palo Alto Research Center. Probably, Professor, you understand that lab. A lot of the goodies come from that. We may have some time to share with you. Okay, so my past experience overseas are in California. And we decided, I decided to come back after those experiences because at that time, year 2000, we think Taiwan, that's 1994. We think Taiwan has a high, great potential to grow. So we decided to come back to Asia, and it's not only come back to Taiwan, it's come back to Asia. Okay, first question to you. What's the difference between science and engineering? So you're from computer science. Please raise your hand from computer science. And what else? Double E. Oh, it's all computer science. Okay, what's the science? What's the difference between science and engineering? Can anyone give a try?
From my point of view, science is when we try to pick a problem and we need to solve the problem from the very basic, and we develop some algorithms to solve the problem, and engineer will develop that algorithm and implement them into more sophisticated algorithm. I mean, the executor is the real executor is engineer.
Okay, excellent. Good. Anybody else to add some?
I think science is about the knowledge and engineering is about the machine and etc.
Okay, so machine is more realistic things you can touch.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Anybody? Okay, very close. But do you think you are defined? I mean, your department or your institute defined as a computer science, right?
Well, computer science and information engineering. So
that's the correct ones.
Because,
Because those two are mixed together. In the past, in our time, it is separate. Computer science or engineering are separate. There's one way to look at it. When we talk about science, it's more about discovery. Discovery the real world, the natural world, and discovery among our people, the living world. What's things between it? What's behind it? Okay. So it's not about building up something never happened. It's more discover what God has built the world, and what are the principles we can use, extract from, we can learn from the nature. Okay. But your answer is very close. When we get into engineering, mainly it's problem solving. There's some problem we want to overcome. Okay. Yes, we are going to use a lot of outcome come from the scientific research, but mainly we want to overcome something called problem. So in engineering, actually, we say problem-solving career. Actually, medical doctor is more engineering, because if something wrong with your body, somebody have to come to fix it. Okay? Actually, that's the reason why I never think of go to medical school, because it's more like fixing a car. That's not my business. Okay? And business actually is more engineering, more problem solving than science, because no matter you set up a task or objective for the future, you want to realize it, or in your business or in your management, there's something wrong, you want to fix it, or you want to improve it. So it's more close to engineering. Another extreme is more like an artist. When there's no standard or no objective standards can measure the outcomes. Like when you draw a picture, I love it, you don't like it, there's no objective standards. then it's more art. Engineering, if you do problem solving, usually there's a standard to measure the answer, not a standard answer, the standard way to measure the answer, say whether this is acceptable or not. But in high-tech industry, we mix these two because we step into the new world that probably never have been. How many of you are in PhD program? Okay, good. Actually, PhD, to prove you are qualified to be a PhD, your certification or diploma, is you have tried to go to a status that nobody in the world ever touched, and you find a solution for that, right? That's the only difference here from a master degree. Right? So actually, your academic work is research, but when you come out, you may continue your research work, but you may become an engineer, work on a lot of problem solving in the industry. Okay, this is a sharing, but now we emphasize more on problem solving, because if you go to industry, most of the openings they provide are engineering. They want the boss want outcome, so you can, based on your contribution, they decide how they are going to treat you. But there's a basic model for problem solving. It's not today's topic, but in Taiwan's industry, at least no matter which company you go, most of the workers there has some basic training on the problem solving. This comes from the quality system, the PDCA, plan, do, check, act, and continuous improvement. Okay. This is a part of the problem solving. Now, another perspective I want to mention to you, actually, with Professor Pong, we discussing on the way here. When we talk about product, we talk about simple product, we talk about complex product. If you go to be an engineer, you go to any company, you may be able to design something like this. It looks simple, not that simple, but it looks simple. But you may join many people, more than 100,000 people together, just build one product. Okay, they both has a lot of technology ingredients in it, but that's a very different job. And to you, actually, sometimes it's your decision what kind of area you are going to. Nowadays, is why I say dynamics. Nowadays, we talk about only software on the aircraft. Looks like mechanical parts, mechanical products. But please look at, this is a timeline. This is the software involved in each product. When you look at the aircraft, they all nowadays almost look very similar to each other. 4 engines, 2 engines, a body, 2 wings. Okay. The physical part, the improvement is very challenging and very slow. But the software part, so that doesn't mean you have to go to computer company or software company. Many of the company, they have very exciting works, need a lot of software engineer. Please look at the complexity they need for modern aircraft. Okay. Those are the software embedded on the product, on the aircraft. But this is a production line. Look like physical one, but a lot of software running it. In the factory, in the design division, involve a lot of. So, Unigraft and Petia, those products come from an aircraft company because they have application, need modern tools. And those products are developed by engineer only. It's a lot of software technology involved. And another, why I mentioned this is that Taiwan industry are going to involve a lot of the major projects in the world now in the near future. So we're not going to build a small module or small product only. We have to participate into the major program in the world, those complex programs. Some program, okay, sorry, this is a Saturn program, a satellite program. 1997 launched the satellite. That means they have to design it maybe 10 years ago. Okay, only 2 units are built. 2 units, 10 years ago, a few hundred people together have to work to define and design one product. They will build 2 units. Okay. In 1997, they launched the satellite. 2004, after 7 years, it reached the Saturn. Okay, and then 13 years mission, the whole thing is complete. So no matter you are an engineer or a scientist, if you involve this project, you have to visualize long back. Okay, 13. This is 13. That's a 10-year project. 23. More than 20 years. So more than 20 years ago, people have to imagine what could be the technology, what could be the mission. Go to a place nobody ever been there. This is a quite exciting thing. Okay. People just use their imagination and make a mission complete. This is another dimension of the project you might involve. A lot of it is intelligent, it's automatic control, it's software related. Another myth I want to share with you is if you go out to find a job, you think you are a very visual thinking person, you are very creative. Okay. But usually, in the whole industry, less than 1% work is really for innovation. Because all the products are so complex. So many people has contributed